Good evening and welcome to Legally Speaking with attorney Antoinette Osbourne. This program is for information purposes only. If you need legal advice, you can contact me, Antoinette Osbourne, at 718-502-9137. That's 718-502-9137. The office focuses on divorce, immigration, bankruptcy, real estate, and estate matters. We also do eviction proceedings. There is a second office in Jamaica, West Indies, that focuses on legal representation if you are seeking to buy or sell property in Jamaica, or if you are looking to wrap up an estate. Now, I apologize for this morning. Of course, there's always an issue when you are trying to return home, and the anticipated return home time was not actually what occurred. So I slept through this morning. Anyway, we are here now, and for the viewers who unfortunately joined in this morning, and I was not here. I apologize. I see now that Amarildo and Melanie had signed on this morning. All right, so it's just a few of us here, but last week, as it was for the 2 Sundays that I was back home in Jamaica, there is a serious internet connectivity issue. And usually it's not that horrible, but I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with Digicel. I don't know what happened with Flow because I was on two different networks. It's the same amount of disaster. The connection is so bad. Anyway, so last week, what I was trying to get across, and I think the live was possibly like for 3 minutes, but last week, what I was trying to get across, which is like fantastic with the medicals that USCIS is accepting. Anyone who is looking to adjust their status to get the green card, or even if you are consular processing, that is, you are in fact outside of the country and you are trying to come in with an immigrant visa. So, of course, by the time you're here, you pass through CBP, you are now a lawful permanent resident. Well, for the people who are actually here and they are adjusting their status, USCIS has now changed their acceptance of the medical, and I think it is such a blessing and it's going to save people money, and I'll show you how. Prior to this, the medicals initially they would last like for a year. Then after COVID, they were lasting for 2 years. At one point, I think it went up to 4 years. However, with this new change, what they're planning to do, and I'll show you how it will save monies. With this new change, once you do your medical, when you are adjusting status, so for those candidates that are in the United States and they are in fact eligible to adjust status, what is happening is that USCIS is now going to make your medical lasting forever. So you don't have to redo it. And the reason that they are in fact looking to do this is the civil surgeon is in fact sharing the information with CDC. And this is where the sharing of information is now beneficial. Usually people would share information, and I don't think it would be of any benefit. Your private information, such as your telephone number, you wonder how people in fact got your number, but what is in fact going to happen now is because your medicals from the civil surgeon who is actually doing that medical examination and vaccination record is now going to be transmitted to the CDC. So it is in fact available to them. Then they're saying your medical is just not going to expire now. And the reason why I say this is money saving, prior to this, when your medical only lasted like 2 years, if your case was pending for a long time, whether or not you were caught up in a Stokes, anyone who has been involved in a Stokes, sometimes your Stokes would take a year to come. And what do I mean by Stokes? That's the interview where you are in fact videotaped and you are separated from your spouse. It's an initial interview. And it's so funny because I do travel for USCIS. I really don't travel for immigration court. The most I would do is New York and New Jersey. I've never been up to Connecticut, but the tri-state for immigration court. But for USCIS, I will go absolutely any state. I don't care. And this what we call it now, era of practice is such that it has caused me to go to states that I would just usually see like on a book or on the computer. I would never even think of venturing out there. But going to USCIS in different states, doing this area of law has caused me to go to states where I would not even think of going, right? But a Stokes is where you are called into an interview. And this New York is such that when you're being interviewed marriage based, you are kept together. So you are seated beside your spouse. And as the attorney, I am also in the room with you. Now, if it is that you've done your first interview and the officer is not comfortable, then guess what? He is going to, in fact, schedule another interview. It is called a Stokes, and you are separated. And unfortunately, if your answers are not similar on the pertinent aspect of your marriage, then what happens is you're placed into a Stokes and you are in fact separated. So let me just kind of see if I can raise this a bit. Sitting area, sorry. Anyway, so for some states, I'll tell you. Hi, Marge. I'm glad you could join us. Sorry for the late start. For those states, for example, I have been to, I think it was, where is it? It's Massachusetts. I think this first happened to me where I believe the officer said, like you'd say, oh, I'll take the beneficiary first. So of course, when you mainly practice in New York and you're like, wait, what? Arena Stokes? But some states do it differently where they immediately separate to you. So I remember when this happened to me, I had I stopped the officer and I'm like, what's going on? Why are you separating them? Because I'm not used to this, especially when you practice at Federal Plaza or you go to Garden City, you're all in the same room. And when there is a separation, it is because you have failed the first interview. In any event, we went to Massachusetts and it's like, it just threw me for a loop. And I said to the officer, is everything okay? You're separating them. So of course, the officer would have had the file from before. And he was like, no, counsel, this is how we get it done in Massachusetts. They are separated. But one of the key things as an immigration attorney is you are, in fact, going to prepare your clients for the interview. For some people who have families and the family member is sponsoring them, this is a way for the family unit not to be broken. They stay together in legal status, and it preserves the family unit for people who engage in long distance relationship and they do it for such a long time. This is something me personally I can't understand. Like, people are in long distance relationship and they are in fact continuing this for some time period. This is something I could never understand. It's not something I would encourage anybody to do. I think to preserve the family unit, you should be in the same house. And it is a red flag to immigration where people are in fact living apart. And I think unless you are in the military or there is an excuse such as possibly the person is going to school and during the holidays they're coming home, but during the school period they're at school. I kind of find it strange that you're living separate, and for immigration that is a red flag. I have heard of situations in Florida, even here in New York. It had even happened to one of my clients. She used to do live-in work, and this is a concept that I don't think immigration has grasped onto, especially if you are a caregiver. Your employment is live-in, so you are not home with your spouse continuously. You get to come home on the weekends, but for them it is a red flag. Like, how is it that you're not in the same house? How do you expect us to believe that you have a bona fide marriage and you're not living together? It is indeed a red flag, and it's something where when if I have a client and they come that they're not living together and I don't think they have a plausible reason for living apart, I personally I'm not going to take that case. I've had people in who have advised that in Florida, where immigration, the HSI officers decided that they are going to come to the house and the person was not they were living there, but they were not there because of their job. And the officers specifically said, we're going to come back and we're not going to tell you when we're coming back. And if your wife is not here by the time we come back, basically, in essence, it was like, then it's like they're gonna hold fraud. So yes, economically, not every job is such that you do live at the residence continuously. Probably you come home on your weekends, or some people, I think most agencies now are doing a 4 day because they don't want to pay overtime. Monies that they are collecting is not sufficient. And I know they changed it in New York, where for the CNAs or the HHAs that are living in, really and truly, you are supposed to, after 40 hours, it's the labor law. You are supposed to be paid time and a half after 40 hours. A lot of agencies were not doing this. And it was specifically focused on them that you should get time and a half. But what this caused, everything looks great on paper. But what this caused was that because the agencies now, for them to go to the family and say, hey, you have somebody here 7 days a week, and as a result of which they're going over the 40 hours, we are now required to do time and a half. What this did was to tremendously cut the hours that the aides were working, and they switched it from 7 days to now you're working a 4 day week because they didn't want to go over the 40 hours that they have to pay time and a half. Hi, Melanie. Good morning, sis. Good afternoon, Suzette. I'm such a morning person with this show. It is actually, what is it, 6:23. But that type of lifestyle, yes, it is a big fraud indicator. And what is happening is, unfortunately, for people who are engaged in this sort of lifestyle, when they get a site visit, what happens, it does not bode well for them. And sometimes what you'll find is that they are placed in a Stokes. And we already discussed what a Stokes is. But back to the good news with the medical. I'm happy for this because people were put to task in terms of finding the monies to pay for the medicals. I've had people who spent up to like $800 on their medical. I know I particularly send my clients to two doctors because I find that they're very reasonable and I find them to be extremely efficient. So I would send my clients there to, get their medicals done. But the fact that the medicals are now lasting for indefinite time period. But what you have to note is that the immigration officer can, if they think that your medical condition has changed, they can in fact request for you to do a new medical. So it's not set in stone that you are not going to be required. If the officer decides, and I don't know what would be the red flag for the officer to decide, probably there was something in the first medical that would indicate whether or not your situation would have gotten worse. But the officer has the discretion where they can, in fact, request for you to do a new medical. So the fact that the medicals are supposed to be indefinite in that they are not going to request a new medical, the officer that has your file still has the discretion where they can request for you to do a new medical. So still have this in the back of your mind that there is a possibility that a new medical could be requested. Yeah. So Charlene Ward says, I needed a question answered. Charlene, let me see. Okay, so, Charlene says, good evening. I tried calling. It says the office is closed. That's not my number you're calling, Charlene. My number is 718-502-9137. I am not sure why you would be getting a message. Are you calling the number now, Charlene? Is it that it's saying my office is closed? Hold on. Let me actually check my phone settings. You may be right, because this is the weekend, and if you are calling now, yeah, that may be the phone setting. So let me try and check to see what's going on, if it is in fact saying the office is closed, because this is an opportunity on Sunday for everyone. If you have a question within that 1 hour window, to have your questions answered. So I'm just actually going to check my phone setting to see what's happening. All right. Let's see something here and see what's going on. Let's see if I can see what's going on with this phone. Bear with me 1 second while you are in fact getting this message. All right, so we'll turn this on and we'll save. And let's see something here. All right. I changed the setting. All right, so Nicola, if you could, I know you're on the live, if you could call the number and let me know what's going on. Why is it saying that? Oh, there, I think hold on. And let me know what's going on. In any event, let's continue. And all right, so what else is happening? What else is new? All right. Another thing that is happening is with regards to the work permit. One of the good things is that, well, this is where, and I'm not sure if I should say it's good, because once I see this, I know in terms of, and let me see if Nicola has responded. One of the things is, what I have realized is when they are in fact once you look to renew your work permit, what happens is you get your receipt notice, right? And this is just for the renewals of the work permit. What is happening is that they had reduced the extension to 180 days. And that extension has now changed. In fact, it's going up to 540 days. And what that tells me is that the work permit, the processing time, there's an indication that it may be slowing. Right now, what is happening is that the work permits are being issued within like a 3-month period, right? Anywhere from 3 to 5 months. And as a result of which, the receipt notices, when you put in for your work permit renewal, it would in fact state that it has been extended for 180 days. Now, this extension has now increased to 540 days. And we probably are going back because I think, how many cases they said that they processed last year? I think it was anywhere, did they say, I can't remember, it wasn't 10 million. Am I exaggerating? I can't remember, but it was a significant number. But remember, we have to now realize that they're backlogged, because with the border crossers, there are a lot of asylum applications and refugee applications that are in fact being filed. And as a result of which, this has created another backlog. So it is in fact slowing down the process. So Nicola, call the 718-502-9137. And I think, so what is happening is, because of this, there are a lot of work permit applications. Some people are just filing asylum because they want that work permit. That work permit is valid for 5 years, as a result of which they don't care whether or not the asylum case, if it goes through or not. They just want that work permit, because with the work permit comes the social security number. And with that social security number, here you go, you have access to a lot of things. So some people really don't even care that the asylum application is frivolous. But I'll tell you this, one of the dangers of the asylum application is that if you file a frivolous asylum application, you'll never get a green card. I don't care if you're married. I don't care if your child is now a US citizen and they're over 21 and they are filing for you. That's a dangerous application to file when it has absolutely no merit, right? And one of the bothersome things is people who are here for years and they're stuck in a rut because for most people, the only way out is through marriage, right? And even if immigration is not in your life and you are looking to in fact get married, it's tough out there for single people. I think we're now in a world where the value system that someone had, it's the value system nowadays, it's a whole ball game out there for people who are single. Now let's make it harder by adding immigration into it. I have spoken to clients where they have specifically stated, boy, Antoinette, everything was going great until I mentioned I don't have papers. Then all of a sudden is either they get ghosted or the bad treatment starts to come in. You know, I have had clients where, having stated this, it's like all of a sudden you're in the relationship, everything was going fine, and then all of a sudden their partner, I think that's what they call it, partner, me know it as boyfriend, yeah, as me know it, or my man, that's how me know it. Uh Comes and they're like, oh, they have no monies. All of a sudden they have no monies to pay the rent because you are the immigrant, you're going to be in need of papers from them. So they are going to be in a position where it now becomes an abuse situation. All of a sudden they're not paying any bills in the house because they know that ultimately you are going to be relying on them to file an application so you can get legal status. All of a sudden them not have the money for paying no bills. Yeah. All of a sudden the styling come in. And I'll tell you this, Miss Girl, I don't like styling. Me personally, we got tell you about your mama. Yeah, but some people, they go through some serious situations where, and especially it comes through when after they marry. Like the person may not show their true color until after they get married. And then here it is, you're in a situation where it is completely abusive, right? So it is what it is. I, I, I I don't even know what to tell people right now. Whenever a client comes in and they're here and they're like, Antoinette, this is the situation, this is what is happening, I personally encourage them to leave. I don't think you're not married to the person. The person knows your situation in terms of your legal status, and then they are going to turn it into a position where it becomes abusive to you. I personally don't think you should stay in any such situation, especially when they start style you. I've had clients where they're in a relationship, they absolutely do not have what you'd say now. There's no legal status. The person they're with knows that They don't have any legal status. And what is happening is they had an argument, you leave the house, you are at the top of the road, and here comes the disgrace. Yeah. Any immigrant who has not had the legal status, and the person who does have the legal status now decides that they're going to turn around and they're looking to disgrace you. So you hear things like "Guedo to girl, you don't have no papers," or "You at the top of the road." They are in fact at the house, so now the whole neighbors are in your life, and the disgrace comes in how you don't have no paper. So now the whole neighborhood now knows you have absolutely no legal status. It's rough. It's rough. So I I don't know what to tell you. This place, it is in fact a tough place, and it's like you really have to have the patience of Job, when you are in fact dealing with people. I think if you are in a relationship and you're talking to someone, I think you should, after a while, disclose your immigration status, because you should give that person the option to decide whether or not, they want to proceed with the relationship. I think if having disclosed your immigration status, if it is that you are not legal and here comes abuse, then what you have, in fact, I think I personally, I think you should run when you are dealing with someone, and it becomes so ridiculous that it's like the styling is just crazy. All right, so Charlene, I did in fact go into my phone settings, and I did change it. So if you want to call and ask the question, you are more than welcome to call in and I'll answer it for you. Child, I am here multitasking. I couldn't even remember where in the phone settings I should change so that you can ask a question. But, like, literally speaking, I think we are now in a world where I think there's absolutely no respect in relationships anymore. People just speak to you in a manner that they deem fit, despite the fact that it's extremely disrespectful. Yeah. And you're caused they expect you to take it, and they speak to you in any manner. I don't think, if whether or not immigration is involved in this, I don't think anybody should be in a relationship where someone is speaking to you as if they are your parents. Personally, I grew up in a two-parent household. I have one father. You are not my father. Yeah. Charlene is saying it's saying the same thing. Let's see. Ay, ay, ay. I have no idea why it's saying the same thing, Charlene. Um, let's see. I thought I changed it. Yeah, I did. Uh, oh, okay. Now I see what went wrong. All right. All right. Try again, Charlene. I hope this works. Yeah. But regardless of which, I think, especially as a community, I sincerely believe that first, the family unit. Okay, I saw Nicola. I did see that Charlene says it's giving the same response. So I did change it again, Charlene. I realized what I have wrong is that the closing time it was off for Sunday, and I changed it, but I had to change the time. So you can actually call now. I think it should go now. But personally, everything is changing. Immigration is changing. The receipt notice is, in fact, saying, look, 540 days, and I sincerely believe it's going. I don't know if it is the fact that we may be having delays with the work permit, but one of the dangers that happens where the work permit expires, and even if your extension expires, people are losing their jobs. Because I'll tell you this, as an employer, most employers do not want to get involved with government, where it is saying, I'm gonna fine you, and you're gonna be fined a lot of monies. And really and truly, nobody wants to deal with that. And if you take a look now, neighborhoods are changing, gentrification is coming in, especially a lot of smaller business owners, the mom and pop stores. Once they come into the neighborhood and gentrification is coming in, properties bought up. If they can evict these small mom and pop stores, so the chain stores can come in. It's people are just, I find New York has become so unaffordable. I don't know what's going to happen to the young people. I do not see them having the ability by the time that they are ready to afford anything. Oh dear. All right. Charlene is saying this is so not working. I have absolutely no idea why it's not. It should be now. I changed the settings. Hmm. 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 Why is it not? Okay. All right. Oh, this is Saturday. Aha. Okay. Okay. Charlene, if you try after this time and it don't work, me no know. Me no know. But she says same thing. I changed something again, Charlene. You can try and let's see. Here we go. You are on the live, my darling. I think you finally get through.
So this is Melanie Beckford trying to call to make sure it's working.
Okay.
So it is working.
It is working. All right, Melanie. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye. Yeah, you see, we I love the legally speaking family. Very supportive. All right, so Charlene, it looked like the last setting that I did, it actually worked. So you can try now, love. All right, so let's see. We have 14 more minutes. I'm not take up your Sunday, really and truly. This is supposed to be a 9 o'clock thing. So I'm not going to interfere with your Sunday. But for those of you that have your work permits, and okay, so Nicola is also saying it's working. For those of you, and that's because I just changed my settings. So Charlene, you are right. It really was not working before. Now, what can I tell you with these work permits? Watch your work permit and look at the expiration. Your work permits are such that they are valid for 2 years, right? And now it changed to 5 years, which is good because it gives you some sort of longevity in your job, right? And all right, so Suzette is saying, don't. All right, so you are on the air, my love.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening, darling.
Finally.
All right, Charlene.
And I'm calling for a friend because
Uh-huh.
I feel it for them. They're good people,
Okay.
right? And sitting here and listening to what you're saying,
Uh-huh.
I'm a little worried about them. They're
Hmm.
good people. They just couldn't coexist.
Mm.
He's working. Um, like I said, they couldn't coexist. So
Okay.
what do they do in this circumstance? Because he did his biometrics
Mm-hmm.
and everything, and they just got paperwork saying um, to send in certain things,
Okay.
by a certain date.
All right.
So I'm a little worried. Um,
Mm.
they don't live together.
Mm. Whoa.
So, and they're good people. He's working. She brought him here. He's working. Everything is, I don't know.
Okay, so
What do you suggest in
all
a
right.
situation like this for them?
All right. So he came on a visa and they got married and she's now filing
No, no,
for
no, no. They got married in Jamaica in 2017.
okay.
He came here in 2019, but they gave him a temporary, and they
Okay.
kept extending it
Right.
with the paper,
Okay.
right? So yeah. So now they asked him to do the biometrics, which he did.
Okay.
Now it's been a long time again, like
Okay.
a year and a half.
Okay.
Now they're asking for, documentation
Right.
about them living together.
Right.
She says she doesn't mind doing anything for him because he's a good man.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you're saying these things,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried about them.
Okay.
What would you suggest in a situation like
All
that?
right. So the person came here, consular process, got the 2-year green card. Now he's looking to remove his condition so he can get a 10-year green card, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So hang up and I'll answer that for you. Okay. Take care.
Okay.
All right. So this is a situation with that. If it is that the relationship broke down, you are looking to move from your 2-year card to your 10-year card, your marriage is no longer viable. All right. So, what immigration allows you to do, because the joint filing is not the only filing. If it is that you entered into a viable marriage, it did not work, you get a divorce, then you can file as a divorced spouse. Now, because the wife is willing to cooperate, because if it is immigration finds out that they're not living together and they want the joint documents and your application is joint, then the problem is if it's discovered, then your case is going to get denied, right? And you may not have the joint documents to submit. So, my recommendation would be, and this is a perfect time to even start it, is that you file for divorce, right? And you look to remove your conditions as a divorced spouse. Now, because the wife is so amenable, she herself can provide an affidavit with regards to the marriage and basically indicating that the marriage broke down, but it's really no fault of their own. They're just not compatible, right? And she gives her affidavit basically negating any form of fraud, and he puts in the application. Now the catch with this is where you don't have the divorce judgment. Now I'm not sure how much time he has left on his requisition, so you can either, I know what some of us as attorneys we're doing. We're filing in these very far counties. So because they don't have the workload like New York City. And I'll tell you, right now, Queens is taking like a year to get a divorce. I think Manhattan is running the same, Bronx and Brooklyn. I file in every county, right? It's about running the same, and it's taking about a year. Worse if you have kids, you may be looking at like a year to a year and a half. So what I am a part of, it's so funny. I had an adversary and we just really did not get along. I just did not like his client. She was a real She's a real Jezebel. I have no other way to put it. And like we were just talking one day, and I think this is the first conversation we had without just being aggressively being very combative against each other. And he was like, oh my God, Antoinette, this is you? Oh Lord. So he invited me, and trust me, as a minority, sometimes you don't even know these things exist because you have to be invited. Yeah. And he said, no, you have to be a part of my group. We got along well, right? And what I realized being in as a part of this group, because and this is where especially young people try and get into groups that align with what you're doing in your field. And this is where I realized, hey, people are filing in these very far counties because the divorce runs very quickly. So I would encourage him to file in such a county, let her cooperate, and hopefully that judgment can be issued. And he filed as a divorced spouse. I filed as divorced spouses for people, and they were ultimately, able to get the card. Now, I'm not saying that, and anybody know me, I'll tell you this, I am not Jesus Christ, honey. I will just work with what you have given me with your case. And if I can't help you, I tell people point blank, I cannot help you. The fact that I can't help you doesn't mean that there is not somebody else out there who can't help you. It's just that if I decide, having reviewed everything, I can't help you, I'm gonna tell you I can't help you, because that's the type of person I am. I'm just a straight shooter. Yeah. In any event, he should look about, because guess what? Even if they denied this joint case, he can always go back and refile as a divorced spouse. And because it explains why he does not have the documents that they are requiring. This is why he doesn't have those documents to give. So it seems like, and they're very mature, because, boy, I'm not lie. No, baby love, me not chat to you, me and you know that me not chat to you. Mm-mm. But they're very mature people in terms of their attitude. I don't know how old they are, but uh, they get along. It's just that some people can get along, but they're just not good in a relationship together. And sometimes the bitterness goes having, been separated for a while, but she's still willing to cooperate, and it seems provide whatever documents that she can, right? So I hope that helps you, Charlene. That's my recommendation. He can always file as a divorced spouse. He's not shackled that it has to be a joint filing, so he can change course and let them know that he wishes to file as a divorced spouse. And what happens sometimes is you may get called in for an interview, so you have to be prepared for the interview as well. All right, so I think we have, yes, just a few minutes left. But I'm just going to turn the conversation a bit because I wanted to discuss something. I think it is so important, right? I think the majority of us here together in this live are Jamaicans. Jamaica is changing where housing has become so affordable for the average Jamaican. And what you're seeing now is that the developers are everything now. It's like we're doing, for us, it's called strata, right? That's our version of condo slash co-op, right? And I think more so it's similar to a condo because you can actually have title, right? You actually get a title. Now, when we're looking that the average strata for a 2-bedroom is running like $40 million. And let me tell you something, as soon as this hit the market, it's gone. And this is not the average Jamaican buying this, because the average Jamaican, let's get real, cannot afford this, right? So now the locals are being outpriced. And after COVID, everywhere worldwide, the housing market just went through the roof. And you can tell how a country is doing, especially by how its people are doing. And it's a struggle for the average Jamaican. And I think sometimes people will get annoyed, oh, them just call and a beg. Sometimes that is true. Let's get real. Because I'll tell you this. For me personally, when I go home, I am a person who I go to my Coronation Market because I like real food. I go to my butcher because I want local meat. I really don't know what they're selling in the supermarket. So, and my butcher shows me the seal, right? That the meat is in fact local meat, right? Because I find, especially here, I don't know if it's the food, I don't know if it's the air, I don't know if it is the water, but I find that people are unnecessarily getting sick. And I'll tell you this, aside from the people who it just amazes me, because growing up, I did not see this. Growing up, I'll tell you this, every household on my street, you could walk down the street, you could know what X having for dinner, what Y having for dinner, because you smelled the pots of the women that are cooking. Now it is a situation where everybody it's they're buying at chain restaurants, yeah. And I think this probably is why, as an island, we too are getting sick. Nobody's really focusing on sustaining the family with home cooked meals. But even if going into the supermarket, everything is out of control. Buying in Jamaica is you're making a salary, right? In Jamaica, but it's as if you are in the supermarket here in the United States. I encourage anyone on this live, when you go home, I am really going to encourage you to buy local stuff and let that money go into the pockets of our farmers. Let it possibly go into a household where they need the money. Yeah. So some people too stush. Them not like the hustle with the market. Them can't take downtown. Me growing up, I was always downtown. So like the guy I bought my meat from is in Luke Lane. Some people them nah go there, so them afraid. Well, okay, but try and find a local butcher in an area where you are comfortable. Me a rebel, me not care. Me basically when me want go and I can be safe, I go. I don't care. But I think that as an island, I think it's hard for the locals. And when you see, because one thing growing up, people always had, you had that family land. Jamaica is changing in terms of the ethnic makeup as well. And I don't have a problem with that, except where the local person is getting displaced. You'll find that the higher level positions, it's we are not being afforded the opportunity to get hired into those positions, right? And especially in the hotel industry, I have clients who, yeah, uh, probably bought the villa for, I know particularly I had one client, he bought his villa for, at that time, yeah, it was a lot of money. It was like probably 800,000. He bought it cash in there, England, in working money. Yeah. So it's an investment because he wanted to have this for a generation for his children. Property is probably worth 2 point something or 3 million US now, right? And this was purchased probably 12 years ago. But what is happening is, because the housing now is so unaffordable, people are now investing and buying for their children, because the way how we are headed as an island, your children, even here in the United States, are growing up into a world where they are not going to be able to afford it. And some people are ensuring that they keep their generation wealth. So some people are now buying there, and they're buying. You have some locals that are buying these apartments for their kids because they know when they grow up, they can't afford it. And this is the reality that is happening to our small island right now. And where it is that most of the housing is being bought by people who especially are not locals, it's investment. There's also no emotional attachment to the place as well. So I mean, I don't know. I just want to encourage you that when you do in fact go home, I want to encourage you that you buy locally, put some monies in that small local business owner's hands, because especially if you go downtown, and some of you may not go downtown. Some of you, I have relatives in Jamaica. I tell you, my people are village people, right? Country people. They will not go into Kingston. They're afraid of Kingston like posts. Eh? Some of them, they will just not go. Cause you know, Kingston people, it's aggressive, yeah? But I am going to encourage you, when you go home, support. When you go downtown now, the ethnic makeup of the stores are not locals. Yeah? You will see a face, and I think, I don't know, probably my numbers are skewed. What is it? Probably 90%, or probably a little shy less of that, are Jamaicans, are black, right? You're not going into these stores downtown to see a black business owner. Yeah. And this is truly what is happening now. And my father specifically believes in, I'd call it, black people supposed to have things, right? And he believes in you continuing in that generation where the children of black people should continue to own things. And what is happening now is that it's not very, I think it's coming out of our hands. And the ethnic makeup is changing. But when the ownership of things are also changing, right? Where you're seeing that in the future, definitely, if you do not have the wisdom and the vision to see what is happening now, that you're holding on to things, right? So that the generation to come can continue in the ownership. Your children will be displaced and they're not going to own. So when you go home, buy local. Yeah. Go in that small business owner support. This is just a word from me. Yeah. Just a girl out support more, trying to encourage us to, I guess, support our people. Yeah. All right. So next week it will be at 9 o'clock. Please accept my apologies. Yeah, man, the flight last night was rough, right? All right. So enjoy your Sunday and whatever little time less other Sunday, spend it with your family. Okay. Take care. Have a blessed week.